Better than rushing.
I agree with that.
Especially since we have to find parking and whatnot. Ooh, and after we look at the places, I gotta swing by Michael's and get stems.
Cool.
I have to get stems today. Hello, hi. Hi.
We got it.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. Sorry for so many days without book club. We had so many weird situations, and then this morning I was just out of spoons, and I needed to rest and collect spoons, but I am fully rested now and full of spoons and ready to read and full of spoons. You don't know that phrase?
Out of spoons.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
You know, like sometimes, actually here at your house, it's forks. Like we're always out of forks.
I'm sorry.
No. It's a phrase. It's not a be sorry. So like most people run out of spoons first.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't use spoons for anything. What do you use spoons for?
I use spoons for everything. So I always run out of spoons first. But it's a phrase that people say like when you're just out of the mental capacity to do even one more thing, you say you're out of spoons.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been out of spoons. We run out of forks. Brandy says she runs out of forks also, so she's with you. Wait, who runs out of forks first and who runs out of spoons first? This is very interesting, actually.
Forks and spoons, we never run out of anything.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Should do that.
Maybe we will. Mary runs out of spoons first. Chelsea runs out of spoons first. My daughter Chloe and I just found you. We're now obsessed and I'm totally embracing slime. Oh my gosh, thank you, Brittany. That's very kind of you. But also, what do you run out of more? Spoons or forks? I'm good, Alyssa. How are you? We're going to read in just a second. I just want to know if you run out of spoons first or forks first. Wow, there's a lot of people here talking about spoons and forks. There's a lot of you today. Yes, of course you can ask a question. Snakey, what's your question, darling? Is it the same question you had on my last post or is it a different one? Small forks. Ooh, specific.
Oh,
I run out of small spoons first.
Because I lost like all of them.
You did. You only have one.
Yeah.
I think we ran out of both, but I don't know. Ruth says spoons. Do you have any slime made? I do have slime made. Yeah, it's on my website. So we're finished. We're not finishing up. We're about a quarter way through Land of Stories. Becca, stop lying. Is that boyfriend? Yes, that's secret boyfriend. He's making coffee like a gem. How do I fix a sticky butter slime? Great question. That would be activator, but please add it slowly. Butter slime really never needs that much. Hey, Shelly. Butter slime is really great and doesn't need very much activator. So what I always recommend is either if you have a spray bottle, use your spray bottle. If not, dip your hand in your activator and massage it into it slowly, but don't add too much. But activator's the way. Miles keeps throwing away your spoons. Miles, why? My friend's 3-year-old is throwing away her spoons.
Well, get better ones so you won't.
Maybe he doesn't like the kind of spoons you have, I guess is what he's trying to say. I don't have activator, sadly. You're going to have to get activator, darling. Unfortunately, the only way to fix a sticky slime is with activator. That's literally the only way. He throws away his spoon with his yogurt. Oh, he's just not paying attention.
So I think that's how I lost all my small forks. It's like forgetting they were in things and just throwing them away.
Oh no. Secret boyfriend is Miles. Or Miles is secret boyfriend. One of the two. Physical spoons or metaphorical spoons? Both. Do you have free slime that I can order? It wouldn't be ordering if it was free, baby girl. But no, I don't have any free slime that you can order, unfortunately. Slime does cost money. You got your slime today and you love it? Yay! That's actually perfect. Your video went up the day before you received your slime. That's amazing. Can I use baking soda and contact institution? You can, but it will harden your slime more quickly. Yeah, it will. But you can do it. Sure. Just use it sparingly, yeah?
You can get borax at like Walmart.
They live in Europe. So they cannot get borax in Walmart.
Yikes.
Yeah, I know. Who won the strawberry candle? Oh my gosh. I had no service the day that I was supposed to pull that, so the winner hasn't been announced yet. You can check how much the slimes are on my website, darling. They start at $5 and go up from there. I will pull the winner of the strawberry candle today. I'm so sorry for the delay on that. I literally had no internet Thursday. It was a mess. I was actually using Secret Boyfriend's phone for phone calls and other things because I had no internet. And that's the day we were supposed to pull it. And then I lost spoons and I forgot. Yeah, borax is in Target. Everything is good. So we are going to read real quick. I'll explain later, Shelly. Yes. So we're going to read chapter 8. which is the fairy inaugural ball. I just got a funny text message from Becca. That's if you guys were wondering why I got distracted and didn't make it. Oh yeah, it is. I'll explain in a second, Shelly. Well, I'll explain offline. Yeah, no, I know you were. It's an offline conversation. So I am going to read chapter 8, the fairy inaugural ball, and then I have to go do things like get stems for flowers, because in case you want. Oh, my camera's falling. But this is the flower situation here right now, and I am only down to 4 stems, and that will not be enough stems because I need to send 50 flowers, and 4 is not 50. So that is the sitch on the flower front. We are making 6 flowers and Back to the Future flowers, and 4 stems is too few. Hi, Grace. Haven't seen you in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Too few stems. Oh, is that my coffee? Maybe I'll read better if I have coffee. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I almost made a pattern.
You almost made a pattern? Are you becoming a coffee artist, babe?
That's right.
Oh my God, latte art. It's a little heart. Thank you.
Or a butterfly. It's whatever you see.
Or a flower.
Ooh.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. All right, we're going to read chapter 8 here, you guys. A coffee artist and a doctor? Dang, she got lucky.
Coffee doctor.
A coffee doctor. Oh my God, I am seeing it tonight, Grace. Wait. Am I going to go through emotional turmoil? And a firefighter in your free time. We forgot about that. And an arsonist in the back end. Whoopsie.
Well, create my own work.
Maybe a little bit. Oh no. Secret boyfriend. I'm going to go through an existential crisis when we see Barbie, apparently.
Really?
That's what I'm being told by
You're
everyone.
going to, or I'm going to?
Apparently I'm going to.
Is this going to be bad for me, everyone?
Should we not go? Is this going to be bad for
We're
him?
going tonight.
We literally already have our tickets. We're going tonight. What are we going at, like 8 p.m.? We did get fancy tickets with recliners.
And we're going to a nice dinner before?
A really nice dinner. No, he said she said we should go.
Okay.
Actually, it's I think he'll appreciate it. Yeah, you're the kind of guy that appreciate it. Not all guys would appreciate it, but you'll be good. You'll be fine. Yeah, no, I'm not worried either. I was just
Worried
teasing.
about an existential crisis.
I am too. I'm less worried about you. I'm more worried about me. Jesus. All right. Let's read chapter 8. Is secret boyfriend analytical? He might go through turmoil too. He is very analytical. You might also go through turmoil. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
More than you, I think.
Maybe. You think you're more analytical than I am?
I think so, yeah.
Really?
No?
Or you think I'm too emotional and wishy-washy?
No, that's not what I said.
That's not what you said. That's what I
Nice
said.
try. She tried to trap me, everyone. Did I fall for it? No.
Whoopsie. Oh, that's really funny. Oh, gosh. All right, let's read chapter 8 so that we can get breakfast. The Fairy Inaugural Ball. The day of the Fairy Inaugural Ball finally arrived, and the entire Fairy Kingdom was united in celebration. 2 years ago, when Alex first laid eyes on the fairy gardens and the fairy palace, she never would have thought that the kingdom would look more magical than it already did. But when she awoke that morning and looked out her window and saw the results of the hard work the fairies had put in to make this day as special as possible, she realized that she had been mistaken. A double rainbow arched high above the kingdom without fading. The fluffiest, whitest clouds imaginable slowly morphed into shapes of flowers, animals, and insects as they floated through the sky. The air was filled with bubbles of all sizes, and some transported the tiniest fairies from one corner of the kingdom to another. Every plant was bigger and brighter than normal and swayed in a light breeze. High geysers shot sporadically out of every pond and lake, and never from the same place twice. The kingdom only became more magical as the sun set and all the stars appeared. They twinkled vividly in the night sky, and with each shooting star, a sparkly trail glistened down as if it were raining stardust. The fairy palace shimmered brighter than ever, as if it were covered with millions of miniature lights. Fireworks went off in slow motion above the palace, illuminating the gardens and bodies of water in bright colors. The ball began downstairs in the main hall of the fairy palace, and the sound of celebration increased as more and more fairies from around the kingdom arrived. Alex was still in her chambers, too nervous to join the festivities. They were all waiting for her, and they had all come to see her. It was more attention than she was comfortable with. Alex had been standing in front of her mirrors for hours. She magically transformed her dress into several different gowns, each more eccentric than the next, until she finally settled on a simple white gown with matching gloves. She even styled her hair to look like Queen Red. She would have been so proud. She looked beautiful, and more importantly, she felt beautiful. She wished her 6-year-old self could see her now. Alex would have grown up with such confidence if she had known this is where she would end up. She just wished that her brother and her mom could see her. A small piece of glass that Alex had chipped off her mirror so she could communicate with her brother during his trip had been shimmering nonstop all day. She figured her brother was having the time of his life in Germany and wanted to tell her all about it. Alex couldn't wait to hear about it, but she just ignored him, wanting to spare herself from any jokes or sarcastic comments that he would make about her dress at the ball tonight. She was dreading it enough as it was. There was a knock on the door, and Tangerina and Skylene walked into her chambers. "Hello, hello," Tangerina said. "We came to see how you're doing." "Everyone's waiting for you downstairs," Skylene said. Alex lost all confidence in her appearance as soon as she saw the enchanted outfits that they were wearing. Tangerina was dressed in a square gown made entirely out of honeycomb. Live bees circled her neck and her wrists like floating jewelry, and honey dripped from their earlobes. Skylene wore her long hair up in the shape of a water lily. Her dress was made of continuously flowing water, and it started at her neck and flowed down the back of her body, stopping just before it touched the ground. It was like she was wearing a waterfall. "You two look amazing," Alex peeped. "Is that what you're wearing?" Skylene asked her. She and Tangerina exchanged a look that made Alex feel horribly underdressed. "Yeah, it is," Alex said confidently, trying to rebuild her own self-esteem. "You both said I should dress as I wanted to be remembered, right? This gown is elegant but simple, and it does the job without being overly flashy and without stealing focus. That's exactly what I'd like my reputation to be." The fairies just nodded. "It's cute," Tangerina finally said. They weren't convincing and made Alex feel more discouraged than ever. "I can't do this," she said, and sat on her bed. "I'm not cut out for this kind of attention or pressure. I'm the kind of girl who wants to be at the ball but not be the belle of the ball." Tangerina and Skylene sat down on either side of her. "You'll have to excuse the kingdom," Tangerina said. "The last fairy inaugural ball was canceled when we discovered how destructive Esmia was. It's been a very long time since we had something or someone worth celebrating. We're just all very excited, perhaps too excited. I can't imagine how overstimulating this must be for you," Skylene said, "and I don't think we've been much help. We may have been giving you the wrong idea about what tonight is truly about." "Then I shouldn't dress how I want to be remembered?" Alex asked. "Forget what we said about that, Alex," Tangerina said. "Being a fairy means you must be true to the goodness in your heart, and nothing is truer than wearing your heart on your sleeve. And the more honesty you show in your appearance, the more you will be remembered and admired for it," Skylene said. Alex thought about that for a few moments, but she wasn't entirely sure she understood. "So I'm supposed to wear my feelings?" she asked. "So to speak," Skylene said. "But if you truly believe that this gown represents you, then you should have no regrets wearing it tonight," Tangerine said. "We'll give you a few moments alone to think it over," Skylene said. "There's no rush. Come down whenever you feel ready." They each patted her on a shoulder, and they walked out the door. "Oh, and Alex," Tangerina said before leaving, "don't think you're not worth celebrating." The fairy smiled affectionately as Alex left her in the chambers. As they left Alex in the chambers, Alex stood before the mirror again, and this time looked into her heart more than her reflection. In the past year, Alex had experienced so many new phases in her life, living in a different dimension, learning magic, going on walks with boys, and being away from her family for the first time. Everything was as terrifying as it was exciting, and Alex wanted her gown to reflect all of it. Alex closed her eyes and thought of the perfect thing to wear. She raised her wand and with a bright flash transformed her dress one last time. The main hall of the fairy palace was decorated to perfection. The usual gold arches and pillars had been bewitched to change colors as the nights went on. A small band of enchanted flutes and strings played music by themselves in the corner. The hall had been cleared out entirely and was lined with tables of food and drink. There were hundreds upon hundreds of fairies, and not one of them was alike. Water fairies sprinkled dew, garden fairies wrapped in leaves, fairies with large colorful wings, fairies that glowed like they were made entirely out of light, fairies that were so small and the size of insects, the majority of them stood around mingling while others hovered in the air. The fairy godmother was the center of the party, playing hostess and greeting everyone who came up to her. She was wearing her finest robes, which sparkled like the night sky, and tonight the air around her also sparkled as if her aura had dressed for the occasion. Mother Goose and Lester were camped out one by one at the side of the drink. Of course, they were side by the drink table, trying to avoid the other fairies at all cost. Mother Goose poured herself and the large goose goblets of punch and topped them off with a splash from her flask. Tangerina and Skyline waited by the foot of the stairs for Alex to arrive. I hope we cheered her up, Tangerina said. The poor thing looked terrified. She'll be down when she's ready, Skyline said. Oh, look, here she comes now, Tangerina said and pointed to the top of the stairs. Skyline eagerly tapped the sides of her glasses until the room went silent. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we'd like to present the Fairy of the Hour, she announced. She's the youngest fairy to ever join the Fairy Council and the Happily Ever After Assembly, the only fairy clever enough to outsmart the Enchantress, and she is the future fairy godmother. Please give a warm welcome to the one and only Alex Bailey. Skyline made a grand gesture towards the top of the stairs, and the hall burst into applause. Alex walked down the stairs, and the entire room gasped when they saw her gown. She was still wearing the white gown, but it was now covered in thousands of vibrant live butterflies. The butterflies twitched and fluttered in time with Alex's nerves, but they never flew away. Tangerina and Skyline were the first to greet Alex and rave about her new dress. Mother Goose and Lester raised their goblets in her direction from the drinks table. The fairy godmother smiled proudly up at her from the middle of the room, and she met her granddaughter at the foot of the stairs. She took her hand and led her into the center of the ballroom. The palace was filled with fairies. Alex had never seen them before, but beside Tangerina and Skyline, the rest of the fairy council members were nowhere to be found. Grandma, where is everyone? Alex asked. Aren't Rosette, Xanthus, Esmeralda, Violetta, and Coral coming to the ball? Oh, they'll be here shortly, the fairy godmother said. They're just waiting for us to start. Start what? Alex asked and gave her grandmother a suspicious look. You'll see, the fairy godmother said, hiding a smile. Skyline tapped the side of her glass again to regain the crowd's attention. Tonight we're here to celebrate a girl who over the past few months has shown wisdom and skill beyond her years. However, before she can officially join the Fairy Council and the Happily Ever After Assembly, there are 4 sacred tests that she must pass. The test of courage, the test of grace, the test of kindness, and the test of heart. The butterflies on the inside and outside of Alex fluttered intensely. Grandma, she said with intense eyes, you never said I would be tested at the ball. An amused grin appeared on the fairy godmother's face. I didn't want to worry you, she said. Just relax, sweetheart. You've already passed the first 3 without realizing it. Please clear the floor, Skyline said, and the crowd of guests parted to the sides of the room, leaving Alex alone in the center. A bright flash of light filled the back of the hall, and 7 podiums and a seat on either side of them suddenly appeared. They were the official stations of the Fairy Council members, and if Alex passed the test, she would be given a seat among them. Mother Goose was to present the first test. She went to Alex and put an arm around her. When Alex was 13 years old, she proved her bravery to the world by defeating the Enchantress, Mother Goose said to the guests. Alex was able to do something 5 queens, 4 kings, and 10 fairies combined could not do. She figured a way to outwit Esmea. She didn't care if she lived or died in the process. All she cared about was saving the people she loved. So, Alex, it is my privilege to inform you that without question, you have passed the test of courage. The fairies applauded, and Mother Goose took her seat by the podiums. Once she was seated, 4 familiar people pushed their way through the crowd of fairies lining the room, and she stepped into the center of the hall next to Alex. It was the old lady and her 3 bratty granddaughters who Alex had helped in the Charming Kingdom. "Wait, what are they doing here?" Alex asked. Suddenly, bright lights appeared and began swirling around the woman and her granddaughters. Alex watched in amazement as the woman transformed into Emeralda, and the 3 granddaughters became Rosette, Violetta, and Coral. "That was you 4?" Alex said in shock, and then a smile came to her face. All 4 looked as gorgeous as ever. Emeralda wore a long dress made entirely out of small emeralds. Rosette's gown was red and multi-layered, so the bottom of it looked like a giant rose wrapped around her legs. Violetta wore a purple dress with a high collar shaped like a violet. Coral's dress was made of pink flower petals, and Fisher, her walking fish pet, held tightly in her hands, and he wore a matching bow tie. "Being a fairy doesn't mean you're always appreciated," Emeralda said, but even when she was subjected to a rude and unwelcoming home, Alex was able to keep calm and elegant demeanor. She understands that being a fairy isn't about whom you help, but how you help. She passed the test of grace. The fairies around the hall clapped again. Rosette, Tangerina, Emeralda, Skyline, Violetta, and Coral went to their respective podiums. There was only one fairy missing. Before Alex knew it, Cornelius abruptly galloped into the hall at full speed with Xanthos on his back. They stopped in the center of the room beside her, and Xanthos hopped down from the unicorn. "Don't tell me that you were a test too," Alex said to her unicorn, and playfully put her hands on her hips. The unicorn happily nodded his giant head. Xanthos was wearing a crisp yellow suit with long, flickering cape of flames. He addressed the crowd, soaking up the attention for all it was worth. "Of all the unicorns in the forest she could have chosen as her method of transportation, Alex chose this one," he told the crowd. Cornelius snorted loudly as if to say, "I have a name." Alex gave this unicorn the chance to prove himself, even when the unicorns of his own herd had disregarded him. Xanthos continued, "She has proven that she believes passion is far more important than appearance, and in doing so has passed the test of kindness." The fairies cheered again. Cornelius became emotional and had to wipe his eyes on the tablecloth. Xanthos joined the other fairies at the podiums, completing their rainbow of color. The fairy godmother was next to approach Alex. The entire hall fell silent, knowing that the final test was about to be presented. "Alex, there is one final test that you must complete, and you must complete it here, in front of the rest of us," the fairy godmother said sternly, although it was more for show. "It's the test of heart, and it cannot be proven with a wand, but only with words. Are you ready?" Alex's hands were trembling. She'd been afraid from the moment that a moment like this would happen, a moment when she could possibly let down the entire fairy kingdom if she failed. Alex licked her lips and nodded. "Yes, I'm ready." "In your own words, tell us why you should join the Fairy Council and the Happily Ever After Assembly," the fairy godmother said. It was difficult for Alex to think with so many pairs of eyes staring at her. She looked inside her heart for the best answer. She thought about the people that she had helped as a fairy and all the people that she had ever helped before she was a fairy. She thought about the fairies around her, about Farmer Robbins and Rook, and she tried to form an answer that she thought would please them all. Because, Alex said with a nervous quiver, "because I know what it's like to live without magic. I know what it's like to struggle and to work hard for things. Right now, I think that people outside the kingdom have a hard time believing in us because they don't see any of us truly understand what it's like for them. And in time, I think I can be the fairy that they will all trust and depend on because I will always be one of them." The hall kept very silent when they waited to hear the results. The fairy godmother turned away from her granddaughter and faced the rest of the spectators in the room. "She has passed the test of heart," she declared. "Hey, Renee." The fairies erupted into thunderous applause. The fairy godmother took her seat by the podium, and the fairy council was complete. A brand new golden chair appeared out of thin air beside the fairy godmother. Alex went to the chair and stroked the armrest. She was finally an official member of the fairy council and the Happily Ever After Assembly, and had her own seat. The fairy godmother leaned in and said, "I told you there was nothing to worry about," she said. Alex smiled at her. I can't believe you've been testing me all week, she said to her fellow council members. We knew you wouldn't disappoint us, Santos said. Congratulations, Alex, Esmeralda told her. Well done, Rosette added. Aren't you going to try out your seat? Coral asked. Alex sat in her chair for the first time. She couldn't deny that sitting alongside the rest of the council members with purpose was a very good feeling. The celebration went on as Alex was continuously congratulated by fairies she had never met. At one point, she noticed someone lingering behind a pillar. I'm playing with Pinkaboo while listening, and I found a mutant Fimo. A mutant Fimo? What does it look like? Oh, send us a picture. We'd love to see it. I love a mutant Fimo. I think they're hilarious. Or is it like all stretched out? She could have sworn she knew him. He was taller than her and wore an old suit a tad too big for him. A feathered mask covered his face. He had been watching her the entire night, but never came out to congratulate her or say hello. The more Alex looked at him, the more anxious he seemed to become. Finally, the attention she was giving him obviously worried him too much, and he headed out of the fairy palace. Alex's curiosity got the best of her. 3 conjoined hearts, that's amazing. Definitely send us a picture, Grace. Definitely send us a picture. Grandma, may I be excused from the party for a few minutes? Alex asked. Well, of course, dear. Alex hurried out of the main hall and down the front steps of the fairy palace. She felt something crunch under her foot and realized the fellow in question had taken off his mask and dropped it on the stairs. She looked ahead and saw him running into the garden. Hey! Alex called out, but he didn't turn around. She chased after him so fast that as fast as she could in her gown. Every time she got close enough to see who he was, he would turn and run down another path in the garden. Alex felt like she was chasing him in a maze of colorful plants and flowers, and eventually she caught up to him on a small bridge that crossed over a pond. Freeze! Alex demanded. Show yourself or I'll use my wand. He slowly turned around and his face was perfectly lit in the moonlight. Rook? Alex gasped. Hello, Alex, Rook said timidly. What are you doing here? Alex asked. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to run from you, he said. I just really wanted to see you again, and I thought I could sneak into the ball tonight and surprise you, but once I saw you and discovered it was your ball, I couldn't help but stay and watch. Alex didn't know what to say. She had never meant to keep the reality of who she was a secret from him, but she hadn't wanted him to find out like this. Rook, I'm sorry I didn't tell you the whole story about who I am, Alex said. I was afraid I'd scare you away if I did. Rook stared at her for a moment and then nodded. So you're the next fairy godmother, huh? Yeah, Alex said sheepishly. And you're the one who defeated the enchantress? He asked. Guilty of that as well. Rook took a minute to wrap his head around it. He stared off into the garden around them with absolute bewilderment. This is bad, he said, shaking his head. I don't know what I'm going to do about this. Alex felt her heart drop into a pit in her stomach. Rook, I'm still me, she pleaded. I'm still the same fairy that you met at the farm and who you went on a walk with yesterday. To Alex's relief, Rook looked up at her and smiled. That's not what I meant, he said, and stepped closer to her. I thought you were amazing the first time I met you, and the more I think about you, the more amazing you seem. And now that I know just how incredible you really are, I'm not sure how I'm ever going to let you go. Oh, Alex said. Her heart began racing and her butterflies fluttered to life. Well, that's very, very nice. You make me really happy, Alex, in ways that I can't explain, he said. You make me really happy too, Rook, she said. One of the reasons I'm wearing butterflies tonight is to match the butterflies you give me when I think of you. Rook stepped even closer to her and placed a hand on the side of her face. He looked into her eyes for a moment and then leaned his head in closer to hers. Alex's heart was about to beat out of her chest. The butterflies fluttered more rapidly the closer he got to her. They flew off of her dress just as Rook kissed her for the first time. The celebration continued in the main hall despite Alex's absence. The fairy godmother sat in her chair and happily watched over the party around her. It had been a terrific night, and she couldn't have been prouder of her granddaughter. However, the celebration had taken a toll on the fairy godmother, and she was feeling very tired and a tad weak. It's a wonderful party, Mother Goose said, pulling her up into her own seat next to the fairy godmother. Nothing will ever beat that mixer that I threw, the Crusades, but this might be a close second. Yes, I think everyone is enjoying themselves, the fairy godmother said softly. Are you feeling all right, FG? Mother Goose asked. You don't seem very festive. I'm just glad this day is finally here, she said. The fairy kingdom can now rest assured that the future is in good hands. Mother Goose took a good look at her. She knew something was wrong, even if it wasn't plainly written on her face. I've known you for centuries, and I can tell when something is bothering you, she said. The fairy godmother sighed. Can I confide in you? She asked of her oldest friend. Of course, Mother Goose said. If I gave you a gold coin for every secret of mine you kept, I'd be broke. The fairy godmother looked directly into her eyes. Years ago, when I declared Esmia as my heir, there was always something in the back of my mind that told me it wasn't meant to be, she said. I ignored it, but then later, that feeling proved to be intuition. Now that I've declared Alex as my heir, there's another feeling that has come over me and I can't ignore it. What is it? Mother Goose asked. Do you have doubts about Alex too? On the contrary, Fairy Godmother replied. After months of training her and finally seeing her among the council tonight, I feel nothing but hopeful. I'm tired. How tired? Mother Goose asked. More tired than I've ever felt before in my life, the Fairy Godmother told her. Mother Goose's face fell. Are you telling me what I think you might be telling me? The Fairy Godmother nodded. Yes, she said with a bittersweet smile. You and I are the only ones old enough to know how magic works in these situations. We know what is meant to be expected, but please remember this is good news. It's meant that we finally found the true heir of magic, and she is ready. Mother Goose didn't say a word. She took the Fairy Godmother's hands in her own and smiled widely as she could, given the news. I think I'm going to retire for the night, the Fairy Godmother said. If you see Alex, please tell her that I'll see her in the morning. The Fairy Godmother slowly disappeared into a soft, glittering cloud, too tired to climb the stairs. Suddenly the hall of fairies parted. Something was causing a ruckus, and they hurried away as fast as possible. 3 boisterous witches had arrived in the fairy palace, and they noisily made their way to the center of the hall. Each wore a long, ragged black coat, and they all smelled foul. One witch had cat eyes and twigs for hair. Another was missing an eye but had 2 large noses, and the third had skin so loose that it appeared to be melting off her face like wax. They cackled loudly at the fairies cowering away from them. The 8 members of the fairy council formed a circle around the witches. It was obvious that they had come to start trouble. What business do you have here? Emeralda asked them. We came here for the fairy inaugural ball, of course, the one-eyed witch said in a shrill voice. Well, you weren't invited, Violetta said. This is a celebration for fairies only. You're breaking the law of the happily ever after assembly by being in our palace, Xanthos threatened. Witches are not allowed to set foot in this kingdom, and you know it. Enforce those laws while you still have them, because soon there will be no assembly to threaten us with, the one-eyed witch warned. The fairies whispered to one another. What did the witch mean by this? Xanthos grew impatient and didn't care to find out. Leave at once or we'll have you thrown in Pinocchio prison, he threatened. The witches cackled even harder at this attempt to frighten them. But if we leave, you'll never receive our gift, the witch with the cat eyes hissed. We didn't come all this way empty-handed. We don't want your gift, Tangerina said, the bees flying around her neck and wrists at a quicker pace. Go back to wherever you came from. Oh, trust us. You want what we have to offer, the witch with the waxy skin wheezed. It's less a gift and more a prophecy. It's something the witches have kept to themselves for a great while. But since it's such a ceremonious night, we thought we'd share it with you. We don't want to hear your ridiculous prophecy either, Rosette said. I do, Coral peeped, speaking on behalf of the curious fairies in the room. It couldn't hurt to just listen to whatever information they have to give us. The members of the fairy council looked at one another, but no one objected. Very well, Emeralda said. If the witches promise to leave us in peace once they've finished, they may share their message. The witches scowled at the audience of fairies. They held up their hands and formed a circle. The witches cocked their heads up to the sky, and their mouths and eyes began to glow. A strong breeze swiftly blew through the palace as the witches began to chant in unison. Fairies, listen well, for there is truth in sights we foretell. Happily ever after will not last when it's greeted by a threat from the past. One by one, the kingdoms will fall apart. From battles they'll lose and wars they'll start. Fairy blood will be spilt by the gallons when you face an army of thousands. The witches howled with laughter at the conclusion of their prophecy. All the fairies had covered their ears from the screeching sounds. Get out of the palace before I turn you into ashes, Xanthos said, and his whole body burst into flames. Yeah, and then I'll kick your ashes into next week, Mother Goose added. Sorry, that was wrong. Yeah, then I'll kick your ashes into next week, Mother Goose added. The witches left the palace cackling as loudly as they could the entire way. The fairies looked at one another anxiously. Did they have a reason to believe a word of what the witches had just said? Was an army of thousands really headed on its way? And from where? Do not worry, Emeralda told them. This was nothing more than a foolish attempt to ruin our evening, and I refuse to let them succeed. I say we continue our festivities in the garden, where we can celebrate under the stars. The fairies cheered, and Emeralda led all the guests through the hall and outside the palace. Aren't you coming, Mother Goose? Coral asked as she left with the others. Mother Goose was the only one who had stayed behind. Yeah, sure, she said. I'll be out in 1 minute. All right, Coral said and flew off with the others. Mother Goose's eyes darted left and right, and small beads of sweat appeared on her forehead. She was the only person to whom the witch's prophecy meant something. Everything the witches had foretold was connected to a dark secret that Mother Goose had kept for a very long time. She had never told anyone, not even the fairy godmother. But years ago, Mother Goose had done everything in her power to make sure this army wouldn't cross over. Was the threat still alive? The only way to find out, and there was only one person who could help her. There was only one way to find out, and there was only one person who could help her, and he was worlds away. Mother Goose took a giant swig from her flask and hopped onto Lester's back. She steered him into the window of Alex's room. Mother Goose climbed through the window and had a look around. She found the mirror placed in the corner and touched its glass. There was no response, and Mother Goose looked desperately around the room. On the nightstand, she found the piece of the mirror that had been chipped off, and to her relief it was shimmering. He was trying to contact Alex at exactly that moment. Mother Goose picked up the piece of the mirror, and the round, freckled face of the person she was trying to contact appeared. Ah, Sea Dog, thank goodness it's you, Mother Goose said to Connor. Listen, we need to talk. I need your help. Mother Goose needs Connor's help. The next chapter is called Abandoned Trip. It's not that long of a chapter. Secret Boyfriend's getting in the shower first, but I kind of do need to edit a video. Stray Kids is a South Korean boy band. Oh, I'm sure they're wonderful, but I don't know of them. Instead of reading the next chapter, I'm going to go edit a video for you guys, but I'm excited to see what happens. Book club is back on track. Fear not. Oh, whoa, that's good. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.